Well, good morning, everyone, and hope you're enjoying the nice morning so far before the heat really sets up today. I am KOIN 6 Meteorologist Kelley Bayern with an update on the heat today and what you should be aware of and plan for with these next couple of days of some heat. Now, as we get started, it is a very sunny morning. It's beautiful out right now as we set up our Tuesday, but that heat is really going to crank going into this afternoon and again as we hit Wednesday before finally cooling off. So let's get into it here. Just a quick look at the heat advisory that we have in place right now across the Portland metro area. Well, it actually goes into effect on today at noon. So that's when those temperatures are expected to bump into the mid 90s. Now, today will be the cooler day of this brief heat up, but tomorrow there's a chance that Portland, somewhere in the valley, up to Vancouver, may hit close to the triple digit. So that again is a window and a threshold where heat-related illness can occur. And those signs could be anything from fatigue, nausea, headaches, just being overheated. So all signs that something is not right in this type of heat. So that's why these warnings are in place. We will also see little to no recovery overnight as temperatures stay warm. Some pockets may dip towards the mid 60s, but overnight lows, again, will be warm, maybe not cracking the 70s. So not much relief in place for those folks who just want to open up the windows and get some fresh, cooler air. That may not be the case if we're still sitting in the 70s overnight. So we're going to keep a watch on that too. Again, tonight and Thursday night will be the hottest nights here of the next stretch. Now, the reason for the heat is this big ridge of high pressure that is offshore. It's a big dome of high pressure that's been setting up over the ocean waters. These patterns tend to happen all the time across the year in all seasons too. But in the summertime, it's what usually leads to the drier, hotter stretches that we get. So another big ridge is out there. And thankfully, this ridge is setting up over the ocean. If this had shifted a little bit more east and this high pressure was right over Oregon, maybe we're in a 3 to 5 day heat wave. But thankfully with this, it is offshore. So we're just tapping into a couple of days of some high heat here in Portland before we finally get some relief. So here's our weather pattern. This ridge is going to continue to sit, but also it is tapering down and kind of decreasing in strength and shifting more west over the ocean. So we will start to pull in some milder air, just a more mild air mass from the north there. Our jet stream actually helping us out to pull in that cooler air from the northwest and cool us down. So only about 2 days of heat, that's today and Wednesday, before those temperatures start to cool off. And we're back to a more pleasant, summery pattern here, maybe in the 80s, maybe the upper 90s. So we do have some relief on the way, which will be really nice as that high pressure continues to build offshore and we turn back to a more mild pattern, even heading into next week. Here's the temperature trend. Again, you can see on average, we tend to be in the lower 80s at this point in the year here. But take a look at today, 94 degrees in Portland. Wednesday, we could hit 98, and there is still some room for these numbers to change or adjust in these upcoming weather models throughout today and tomorrow as they update. So right now, mid-upper 90s is pretty likely. There is a non-zero chance that we do hit the triple digits both today and tomorrow. I think the best chance will be on Wednesday. Maybe we do get up to 100 degrees in Portland. So again, that is just that point, that threshold where we do start to get a little more concerned about heat-related illness, and this heat becomes more of an impact, especially for those folks who are houseless and do not have air conditioning. And that may also be you, someone who uses the fans and doesn't have an air conditioner. So be aware of this heat. Notice Thursday and Friday, we do start to back that heat off. It will still be pretty toasty in the upper 80s, about 90 degrees. Saturday through the weekend, we're back in the lower 80s here and seeing much more pleasant summertime conditions. And I don't think we'll see any record highs in this stretch of heat. Tracking the summer so far, the warmest temperature that we've had is 96 degrees. That was back a little over a month ago on June 8th. and that's been our hottest day so far this year. So we could likely tie that today and maybe break it tomorrow if we get to the upper 90s. So we'll see what happens. And the number of 90-degree days so far is 7. The average is about 15 per year. So we're nearly halfway there. And it's just been really incredible to look at some of the stats for the number of 90-degree days. Just in the last 5 years, there have been plenty of summers where we're seeing 25 to 30 days in the 90s. So that heating is really noticeable in our summer times here, where we are seeing that hotter trend where it feels hotter, and it usually is hotter. We get more heat waves. We see more 90-degree days on the tally sheet. So we'll see where we end up this year, including Sunday was a 90-degree day. Today, tomorrow, and maybe through Friday, we're still in the 90s. So that could maybe be 3 or 4 more days added to that tally. So we will keep our eyes on that too. Now, today's forecast, somewhere in the mid 90s for much of Portland here and the Willamette Valley. If you look around the coastline, we're back in the upper 60s to lower 70s. We'll kind of see temperatures varying and being very pleasant out towards the coast today. That will be a good spot to cool off. Tillamook, a little further inland might hit 80 degrees, and looking out towards central and eastern Oregon, we might be in the 80s to low 90s. And again, we have seen these temperatures already this summer. Today isn't the day with the super extreme heat. That day is likely going to be tomorrow, where a lot more of the region here is seeing those hotter temperatures closing in on the triple digits. But you will still want to be aware of the heat today and make sure you are taking those precautions seriously. Make sure you're watching the kiddos, your pets, your older family members, your neighbors too, and finding ways to cool down in this heat. Now, tonight's overnight lows will likely end up somewhere in the mid to upper 60s, and that is nearly 10 degrees warmer than our normal overnight lows. The upper 50s is not too chilly, but definitely cools down. The upper 60s might be t-shirt temperatures overnight. And in some areas, it's called the urban heat island effect. Because there's so many concrete buildings and roadways, that tends to trap the heat, especially in big cities like Portland. So there could be some neighborhoods that do not break the 70s tonight and stay somewhere in the lower 70s. So there could be little relief overnight. This is especially the case going into tomorrow night with all the heat that we're building throughout the afternoon. So it may be tough to open up the window and cool off. So you'll really want those fans and to find those ways to cool down with these overnight temperatures staying so warm these next few days. So summer heat safety, just a good reminder to make sure you're staying hydrated. Drink extra water today. Drink lots of liquids. Make sure you're wearing light-colored, loose-fitting clothes. Take those frequent breaks. Do not plan your run at 2 p.m. today. It's going to be way too hot for that. And it really just is unpleasant being outside for too long in these temperatures. So make sure you are staying safe and are doing the right things to keep yourself safe when these temperatures are really expected to climb these next few days here in the Portland metro area. Okay, fire weather danger. Also something to keep in mind here. We are still so hot and so dry. We have not had rain for, I believe, 17 days in a row now. And these dry stretches are pretty normal in the summertime. We tend to turn off the rain as we get to July and August. And it's in September that we sometimes will get some of these storms that start to mosey back in October. Storm season starts. So it is, again, supposed to be dry at this point of the year. And with all the heat, too, that is just drying out all the fuels. Eastern and Central Oregon is so grassy and brushy that this is not a good pattern. And the fire danger is on the higher end of things going into this season. So looking at today, out in the Gorge, we have that lower to moderate fire danger. Thankfully, the winds aren't too breezy today. We don't have any thunderstorms, but we are still going to be very, very dry. So, any person that might accidentally light a spark that catches on the brushy roadways or some of the sides of the roads, maybe on the interstate, any of those fires could spread rapidly. So there is still that inherent danger just being in the summertime. A look towards the southeast of the state in areas of Harney and Malheur counties, more of the moderate to high side of fire danger today, and that's due to some windier conditions and maybe some thunderstorms in some portions of Idaho. So be extra careful, adhere to those burn bans. Again, make sure that you aren't burning anything. We're trying to keep our state as green as possible. Also want to mention that you might notice some hazy conditions today. We are expecting to see some wildfire smoke from nearby fires in Washington and also possibly those fires in Central Oregon, the Cram and the Highland fires, maybe pushing smoke towards some portions of Central Oregon. But the fires in Washington, since we're seeing our upper level winds coming in from the north, it might push a thin layer of some very high level haze into our skies today. So you may notice it's a little bit hazier out there, maybe tougher to see Mount Hood or Mount St. Helens like we typically can from Portland because of these hazier conditions. And that is from wildfire smoke blowing our way from areas of Washington and in Oregon too. So that might bring some impacts to visibility, but thankfully, this smoke is not thick enough to cause any impacts at the ground level. So I'm not seeing any major concerns for air quality dropping, at least in much of Portland. I'm sure around Central Oregon, Deschutes County, being closer to those two wildfires burning in that region, there definitely could be some impacts today and tomorrow. So we'll also have our eyes on that, and we'll continue to do so as we head our way into the hottest parts of the year here. Rain chances, again, pretty low. I don't see any rain for the next week and a half, and that will likely continue here unless we see rounds of thunderstorms. We tend to really not see any rain in Portland through much of the summertime, and we'll get dry streaks for weeks or even months at a time. So I don't see any thunderstorms, don't see any rainy systems, so we're likely dry for at least the next week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, and that could extend even more as we head into August as well. Okay, your 7-day forecast here. We are expecting a hot Tuesday and Wednesday. Temperatures will start to fall as we get to Thursday and Friday. However, the 90s Thursday, still going to be a hot day. So make sure you are preparing yourselves for this heat. Again, tomorrow could be that day where we hit the triple digits. It will likely be our hottest day of the year so far as we get to the upper 90s at least. And Portland Pride is this weekend. The parade is on Sunday. KOIN 6 will be out there repping and supporting and having a blast, and it's going to be a good day. We see some great conditions for all those Pride events, lower 80s this weekend. So an enjoyable weekend ahead, but we just got to get through some heat today before we can get there. So make sure you're being safe. Again, lots of water, and take breaks. The libraries, the malls, Starbucks, coffee shops, all good places to get some cooler air if you need a break in this heat. So thanks for tuning in. Stay safe and enjoy it as best you can. I do see some nicer weather this weekend, so hopefully you have that going for you. But thanks again for tuning in, and I will catch you next time.